we filmed her going through it, and it was just powerful.
Mm.
It was powerful. You know what I'm saying?
So she's 19 years old and blind.
Blind.
Wow.
And I just showed her escape from mount, get up in posture, pass the guard, stack pass, side control, reverse headlock, step over, Americana from the mount.
You know, it's interesting about that is oftentimes, you know, when I'm rolling, it's not really a visual thing. It's a feel and
It's so
anticipation.
much.
Like if I get a hold of somebody, I just been grappling people so long that like you just
You already know
know.
where body parts are.
Yes, like you know how they're gonna bend and how they're gonna go, and then because you've been doing it so long, you know, like if they turn this way and that way, and then you can anticipate. And you know, it's great. I think that's the beautiful part about grappling and jiu-jitsu, that it's kind of handicap proof in a lot of ways.
That is a really interesting perspective. Damn.
Because you don't need to see. It's not like striking. Like because if you're getting attacked, eventually someone's going to grab you. If I'm a woman, a guy's going to grab me. If I'm very good at jiu-jitsu and I'm training with men that are actually trained, even if I can't see, I'll be able to fuck somebody up.
Yeah. Yo, that is factology to the highest degree right there.
I think about that often, you know?
What's funny is I really can't see. So the deal is this, right? So you can relate. So when I take these glasses off, I can see that you have a face.
And that's about it.
I see that you have shoulders. I can see you have a white hat on. I can see that you have a face. I see you have shoulders. That's all I got. So like one of the reasons I liked jiu-jitsu was because once I realized once I get a hold of you, I can see. You know what I mean? And if too much space backs up, I can already function from this place of like really low vision. So it's okay. But like the young woman I teach, her name is Juliana Silva. She's at USF. She's blind. She's a chemistry student. I don't think she weighs 100 pounds. And apparently she came into class and they took her to the karate club and she was like, no. She was like, I want jiu-jitsu. So then like they called me, was like, yo, Adisa, there's this girl coming in. I don't know if you're okay with this, but you know, she's visually impaired. You know, she uses a cane. I was like, cool. I already had, because I had a young blind boy before who was a kid. He was like 10 and he was actually pretty savage. So then when she came in, she was just the nicest young woman. I was like, so what brought you to jiu-jitsu? She was like, oh, my dad said that I should learn it. I was like, your dad is a brilliant man. So
yeah, very smart man.
And how her presence on the mat has improved me as a teacher is I'm now triple visual. Like when I do a thing, I'm really, you know what I mean? Like when I talk to the group, I'm really like, I'm using my right hand thumb up to grab the base of their left wrist. And then you know what I mean? Like I'm really.
Oh, yeah. Like when you're explaining, because as somebody that translates techniques a lot, it's amazing how many times people can go through a whole technique without actually saying anything meaningful. Like if you put this here and then that goes there and then I do this and like, oh, and like they're just saying things that like really contribute no value, or they're talking entirely too much. Like, like Muhammad, great person. Right? Yeah, so it's very interesting that you say that. Like people don't realize.
So the other week, I had to run through like the Jiu-Jitsu 101 kind of, you know, fundamental movements. I mounted, I bridge out, I posture up, I stack pass, I come around, reverse headlock, step over, Americana. And like she did it. And I was just like, you know what I'm saying? This is really beautiful. But then on the other hand, I was going, because I also teach at Half Gracie, Santa Clara, and San Jose. And so after I teach twice a week at USF, Mondays, Wednesdays. So it was Thursday. I was going to the no-gi class at House. And I think about like, how can I teach her better? You know what I mean? Like, you know, what can help her absorb stuff? And then I started thinking about like she never complains during the warm-ups, ever. She's never told me she can't do a thing, ever. She's never told me she's confused, ever. If I say, do you understand it? She'll say, I think so. And she'll try it. And then like, you know, maybe she'll hit it, maybe she won't. And then I'll be like, okay, actually you want your foot here. Now this hip goes that way. And she's like, okay. And she's got it. And like, I was thinking about myself and I was like, have I ever really been brave? If she can walk into a jiu-jitsu class being totally visually impaired, under 100 pounds, never complain and just go. Like, have I ever been brave? I don't know. She made me rethink my whole thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. And how old is she again? 17?
19.
19,
Wow.
you know. I learn a lot from my students as well, you know. It's amazing. Like I always say I don't want to have kids, but like with as much as I've learned from like working with my students or people that I claim to be my kids, it's like I could only imagine what actual parents learn from raising a whole child.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty ballsy deciding to do jiu-jitsu on your own at such a young age. As someone that did it in hindsight, pretty nuts. Nuts.
What brought you in?
I got bullied a lot as a kid, so I wanted to learn how to fight. One day I made a promise to myself that I'm never going to get punked again. And if I do, and if I have to be in a fighting situation, no one's unbeatable. Everyone has gotten their ass kicked and will eventually get their ass beat, but I'll make it really tough for the person and be really hard to kill.
A long day.
Just be hard to kill was my goal. At 15, I said hard to kill. I don't have any tattoos yet, but one of them is definitely going to be this design I have. And what part of it is says hard to kill, because that's my goal in life. Just be hard to kill.
Being a West Coast hip hop guy, that was one of my favorite rap songs by Spice One and Method Man. Have you heard that?
Oh, I love Method Man.
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever heard that
needs
song.
to be your fight song, dog.
Noted. We're gonna write this one down right now.
Yes, we should probably put a snippet of that song in the beginning of this episode.
Yes.
Hard to kill.
Yes. So Nico, I think maybe we can do the intro.
Yeah, drop the intro.
Just do a little quick intro.
But drop the intro, we'll edit this, figure it out, you know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But we'll start. Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. I'm your host, Tim Spriggs, and with me as always every week is
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball. Glad to be back. And this week, we getting back with some of the best minds in the BJJ community. Today, we are joined by Adisa Banjoko, one of my homies from the West Coast. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. He's the founder of an organization called the Hip Hop Chess Federation and the author of a book called Bobby Bruce and the Bronx, The Secrets of Hip Hop Chess and Jiu-Jitsu. Is it hip hop chess? No, the secrets of hip hop.
Secrets of hip hop chess. But there's like a whole chapter on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But it's all kind of like how it relates to martial arts. I always consider everything that you do to be the three of them, even though like the Hip Hop Chess Federation, it doesn't drop that jiu-jitsu in it either. But I consider that to be an integral part of it. We're gonna get in a little bit more of that. But he's also on top of all of that. I know you got a secret project. You're a writer, and you're also the host of the Bishop Chronicles. So we're happy to have you here today. We already started. We already been talking for like 10 minutes.
I'm super grateful to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Nico, thank you for having me. Tim, thank you for having me. And, you know, I've been a fan of you on the mat for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And, you know, the other day I was coaching one of my younger students. He's a white belt, Saifullah. He was at Jiu Jitsu World League. And one of his last matches was another black dude. And it was a tough bracket. Saifullah got bronze. And when the guy came off the mat, like he had won. He had beaten Saifullah on points, and he was like almost crying because he was just happy to have a brother on the mats with him to fight with. Like that was an emotional thing for him, like a place of joy. And they became so tight. You know what I mean? And we were chopping after the match and talking about positions. Like it's always good. Like I know that, you know, things like martial arts absolutely transcend race. Like I know this, you know what I mean? But also when you're black in a space that's not very black, it is awesome when you come across other black people. So to be talking with you both about jiu-jitsu and helping kids and all this stuff is an honor for me. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. That's really great to hear. When I first started, there weren't a lot of black people. The biggest name that was black was Jacare.
Yeah.
He was the black guy.
I remember
there was Fimpo and other guys, but he was the dude when I started. Yeah.
For me, I think it was Carlos Barreto from Carlson Gracie. He was, you know, and this was before YouTube. So you got to like pray you can come up on some like comp footage, you know what I mean? That like has, you know, stuff like I still have like somewhere I have a VHS tape with like one or two of his brown belt comp matches. You know what I mean?
That's
you know what I'm saying?
wow.
And like I was like, so him, Jamelao, Jacare, right, Tere, who else was really dope to me? I actually just found a cassette tape with Carlos Newton on it. You know what I'm saying? He's from like Canada. You know, he was early UFC black dude. He was dope. He could fight, bro. He was raw. You know what I'm saying? So like I've always paid, like, even if I didn't write about that person, because I was a journalist back in those times, even if I didn't write about them, I always made a mental note, you know what I'm saying, that they exist, you know what I'm saying?
But why wouldn't you write about them? Just because they're like,
when I mean, like, sometimes I was able to track people down and interview them, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, but like I interviewed Carlos Newton, you know what I mean? But that was for a magazine that don't exist anymore called Valet Tudo News, which was, I think, I don't know if Eddie Goldman owned it, but I don't think he owned it. But you know what I mean? That's how I actually really kind of started writing about a lot of this stuff. And even like Herb Dean, like I met Herb Dean hella years ago at one of the UFCs. Eddie Bravo got me tickets for that. Shout out to Eddie. And I met Herb Dean. Herb Dean used to be down with a rap group in Pasadena that was part of a big scene. Like Herb Dean is super hip hop. People do not know that.
They don't. Everybody's pissed off at him for his decisions recently, talking about he needs to retire. It's like
always, though, he's always pissed people off. That's what makes me laugh. Like I never remember a time when people were like, "Got to give it to Dean on that last call." Like everybody's always pissed, right?
Always, yeah.
But when I hung out with him that day, I had an idea. This was so long ago. Like GSP was on that card, I think. Anyway, I was like, I'm going to write a book called Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos, which is a Public Enemy song from their first album. For those that don't know rap music, it's not a problem. But my point is I was gonna start trying to interview Black men who fought in the cage. And what was it like the hour before you go in that cage? That was supposed to be the book. I started like writing all these Black dudes down, but then life, you know what I mean? And it never materialized. It never materialized. But that was the book I've always wanted to do.
That sounds dope. Yeah, because we had a question from a fan the other day, like, and he was asking about like if he felt the need that he needed to be like the defender of the culture in the gym, and he wanted to know if that was okay. And it's like some points, like that's exhausting, and it's not your job to educate people. Spend your time educating yourself on the culture, getting to know all these people. And shout out to one of our other fans that's we were talking about wrestling on the podcast. So she spent the last month on her own Instagram posting these extensive posts about Black women in WWE over the history. Like a lot of time and effort and energy must have gone into that. Or maybe she just Googled it. But to put that information out there for people to see something positive, something really dope and historic, and be like, wow, I didn't even know about this, So exactly. That's really dope to see, like those kind of things. And that's what I mean when I say curate your community. It's like, it's nice. Like I've even blocked somebody recently. I got mad at one of my training members because from the Black belt wisdom. And it's like, you just curate your community and focus on like the positive aspects like that. And there's so much history like that we can go back. Maybe present ain't the most positive time, but we can look back to get that motivation from our ancestors,
No, exactly. Right. And the bottom line is so many schools and so many, over the years, like, again, like, martial arts for me has been a great tool of helping me transcend and understand how to transcend, cultural and racial and spiritual identities, and just see people as human and let them be whoever they are, whatever they are, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's also been a great way for me to kind of, I'm Muslim. So I've been able to cultivate, my faith through Jiu Jitsu. I wasn't expecting that. You know what I mean? But grappling is a big part of the Islamic culture. So like there's a guy who just wrote a book called The Prophetic Path of Grappling. And tragically, I'm blanking on his name right now, but it's a new book. It's called The Prophetic Path of Grappling. It's by a black belt in the UK who's Muslim. I think he's Pakistani or whatever, but he wrote like the tradition of like grappling in Islam, and it's really cool. And I've written several articles about that before. and I'm working on one now. But I mean, like, the cool thing is grappling is everywhere, and martial arts is international, and now the jiu-jitsu continues. As big as it is, it's still super small. We get these opportunities to come across other people, have high cultural exchange, and that's beautiful, man. That's priceless.
I'm sitting here trying to like take notes and stuff. I was like, maybe y'all need to pause this right now. Go get a pen and piece of paper.
Yeah.
Take some notes on some titles and whatnot. So sorry, Tim. I'm like, I'm not taking notes. I'm sending messages to Tim so I can find them later. I'm glad your phone is on vibrate.
Yeah. No,
Like,
it's all good. And I'm a complete nerd. So if I continue to if I keep referencing stuff, it's just
have to put footnotes in the in the description of the pod. So it sounds like you've been training way longer than I have, and I started training in 2006. Ironically, that's the year the Hip Hop Chess Federation was founded. So can you talk a little bit about how your background in jiu-jitsu and your background in chess, and when you decided to put them together?
Yeah, so my background in chess comes first. I learned chess when I was really young, like 4 years old. My dad started teaching me. I was not, and still am not, a prodigy of the game. I just love it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not devastating. I'm not a grandmaster. I'm nowhere near a grandmaster, but I loved it. I always loved it. When I became 13, that's when I started getting into hip hop. And when I was 12 when I first learned about hip hop. So that would have been 82. So then 83, my dad gets me turntables. I started learning how to scratch and mix. 87, I'm writing for my high school newspaper, and I meet Eazy-E, and I interview him for my high school newspaper before Straight Outta Compton dropped. And
where did you meet Eazy-E? Hold on, I gotta do some interrupting here because I had a question last time and I forgot. Where did you meet Eazy-E? You ain't gonna forget your story. This is history.
So this story I've told before, but I'm gonna tell this story again. When I was 17, 1987, hip hop is pretty new, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm a DJ, like a serious DJ. Like, I'm not even playing. Like, for that time, I was raw. Anybody who wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you could beat me, you were super raw. Anyway.
He said, anyway, you just like Tim. I
train 2 days a week,
and then I want money.
California, West Coast, yeah, like you could get it. You could.
What part of California?
You're wearing a Crenshaw hoodie if you can't see.
Crenshaw.
This. I'm not from Compton. I'm wearing this because it's a one-off that my boy made for me.
Yeah, it says Crenshaw Grappling Club. But I know you represent the communities from Cali.
This is also Nipsey Hussle tribute. You know what I mean? This is the Nipsey Hussle tribute grappling hoodie that doesn't actually exist anymore.
Yo, I guess shit. I wish I had one.
Yeah, those are. That's fire.
I keep this. I break this out for special occasions. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a common, you know what I'm saying, hoodie. I don't rock this all the time. But this is a special occasion, so I had to rock it. You feel what I'm saying? Because I didn't want Pops to rock me. So
that needs to go on the Patreon, Tim. We're not giving kids that advice.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Edit that out.
That's what I said. That's going behind the paywall.
Yeah. That's Patreon.
I'm gonna restart that part.
Okay.
So, here we go.
So anyway, for $5, you can figure out what a ghost locker is. Continue.
We have to be like, do like the whole.
Slide on over to our Patreon.
We have to chop that part out and be like, beep. Like,
exactly.
We'll be right back after this. You know, technical difficulties.
All right, here we go. So, thank you for asking, Nico, how I met Eazy-E. The way that I met Eazy-E was, in 1987, I wasn't doing well in school, and my counselor, Mr. King, may he rest in peace, he just passed away not too long ago. He pulls me in and he's like, "You're failing everything but English. You've got 1 A. Everything else is D's and F's. What's happening?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's just like, "All right, look, because you have this A, I want you to start working for the journalism squad." And I was like, "I'm not really interested in writing though." And he was like, "Yeah, but you have an A in English, so you're writing." He's like, so,
write or fail.
Write about? And I'm like, so I went to a high school called Oceana. We're known for wrestling. We had a beast wrestling team for years. Like from the 80s through the 90s, if you was coming through and you had to go through Oceana, you were probably going to get housed. Not a joke. We were known for that. I didn't care. We were known for football. I also didn't care. We had a swim team. Didn't care. Tennis team. I didn't care about any of it. So he was like, well, what do you want to write about? I was like, I want to write about hip hop. He was like, great, write about hip hop. I don't care. All right, bye. Right. Kicks me out. So I go home. That weekend, I had just bought Boys in the Hood, but it was the week that Boys in the Hood came out. It was not a hit. You understand me? Like, it was brand new on an independent label and nobody knew it. I had just bought it and I loved it. So in those days, independent records, they had the phone number to the label on the inside, you know, like Ruthless Records, you know, 310, blah, 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 whatever. So I called and I was like, hello, is Eazy-E there? And they was like, no, he's not in right now. And I was like, cool. I'm a big time writer from the Bay Area, and I think he's got a hit on his hands. I'd like you to have him call me at this number, please. And then I left to go play basketball. So when I come back, my mom was like, oh, a boy named Eric called for you while you were gone, you know, blah, blah. I was like, what's the number? It was like 213-310 something. I was like, all right, the game has thickened. So I went rotary phone. Y'all don't even remember that part of the game. You got to be old school for the rotary.
I remember at my grandma's house.
Although this story started the year I was born.
But
Yeah, I was born in 1990.
I'm 87.
Late 1990.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? So I call and he picks up. It's his home number. He's like, hello? I was like, hello, Easy? He's like, yeah, it is him. What's up? Who this? I was like, yeah, what's up, man? Anyway, I love the song, man. I think it's dope. I really like to interview you. He's like, cool. So I get off the phone and I'm tripping. And I'm like, so my mom was a legal secretary. So she had a lot of the equipment to like do dictation off like recorded phone conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I hooked it all up and I interviewed this fool. So when I did this story, no one knew who he was at my school. No one knew who he was. Like, he was that new of an artist. So from this initial interview, me and Easy become cool. So then he's calling me every couple weeks. I'm calling him every couple weeks. Like, we're like homies. So like, I remember one time he called me and he was like, hey, what's up, man? I'm like, what's up? And he's like, chilling. I'm at the hospital right now. I was like, what happened? You get shot? Dre get shot? So what's going on? He was like, nah, man. He's like, I just had a baby. And I was like, no kidding. He was like, yeah. I said, Eric Jr. And he goes, no, man, Derek. I said, okay. So there is an Eric Jr. He was like, yeah. I was like, I'm really happy for you and your wife, man. And he sits there silently and he's like, he goes, I'm not married, man. And I was like, you're not married? I am a nerd. I'm a thoroughbred nerd. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, you have a child with a woman, but there is no wife? What is this? You know, and he can hear the nerd in me trying to like beep, boop, 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 like try to get through it. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, so how many kids do you have? And he was like, 6. I think he went on to have like 8.
Yo,
You know
how old
what I'm
was he
saying?
at this time?
Yo, he can't have been anywhere near 30.
And I was like, word. And so it's funny because it was like this gangster mentoring this nerd who just loved hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So it was hilarious. But eventually what happens is right before the story drops, now we would talk for almost 2 months. Because remember, this is 87. This is not the digital age. It took a minute to write an article, get it edited, you know, lay it out. You know what I'm saying? That took time. So then like, he calls me one day and he's like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, chilling. He's like, yo, my manager, Jerry, had a question. And I was like, oh, what's up? And he was like, who do you write for? We've been talking this whole time and I haven't even figured out, like, do you write for the San Francisco Chronicle? Do you write for the Examiner?
You're like San Francisco high school.
I was like, I remember sitting on the phone. I was like,
Adisablog.com.
woo. I was like, here's the deal. It's the moment of truth. You can't front, right?
Yeah.
I'm busted.
Here's the deal. Let me kick it to you. Let's chop it up.
And Jerry, it's Jerry Heller, right?
Jerry Heller, the manager of NW. So he's like, who do you write for? I'm like, okay, here's the deal, man. I'm 17, dude. You know, I got the record. I love it. And I am writing. About it. Okay.
I am writing.
but it's for the Oceana Foghorn. We're a high school in the base.
It was a high school paper.
There's
yes.
Yeah, it's at at Oceana Foghorn. You know, I just really love you, and I've been a fan of Dre from the beginning because I did use Dr. Dre was my favorite DJ. People forget Dre as an actual scratching DJ. In '83, he put out a song called Surgery, and the solo scratch in Surgery at its time, there was nothing better. It was like, if you could scratch like Dre, you were top tier. So I was like, I've been a fan of Dre since day one. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, actually, now that I think about it, like the day I met you, I met Grandmaster Flash, didn't I? It was at a hip hop convention. You are an amazing person. See, Jiu Jitsu has done some amazing shit in my life.
That was so fun.
Because I didn't even know you. And I got to be on stage at the Kennedy Center. And then turns out Grandma, I was like, yo, it's what are you fucking this much? I was like, random shit because of Dwan. But anyway, yeah.
So he sits there for a few seconds and he's like, he just bursts out laughing and he goes, hey, listen, man. He goes, no one's writing about us. I don't give a fuck. Run that story. So I wrote essentially what is probably the first article ever on Eazy-E and NWA. Like, I don't think there's an earlier story. And in it, he didn't even tell me what NWA meant. In the beginning, NWA was the secret. We're NWA. What does it mean? He was like, I was like, in the story, I'm like, he won't tell me what the group name means, but they're sure to be awesome and da da da.
Is that your teenage voice?
Yeah. That's my typing teenager.
My mind is blown. That's like hip hop history.
Yeah, no,
I've never heard.
And so look what happens though. Like, and this is important because you guys are both educators, you know what I'm saying? Because he did that, two things happened. One, I stopped drinking almost immediately because Mr. King, RIP, and Eazy, RIP, both gave me a shot to be something that I didn't see myself of because I had low self-esteem, because I was drinking, because I couldn't see my own talents, right? But Mr. King saw a writer in me when I didn't see a writer in myself. And Eazy gave me a chance to be the writer that Mr. King saw. And so if that doesn't happen, this very moment does not happen. The book, Hip Hop Chess, none of that shit happens because from that point, I'm like, I'm gonna be a hip hop journalist, which didn't exist really. You know what I mean? As a thing, right? And then later I'm able to write for, you know what I'm saying? Like I meet Pac like 2 years later. Then I start writing for this revived paper of the Black Panthers called The Commemorator. And so Money B's dad, Digital Underground, Money B and Digital Underground, his father was a Black Panther. And I used to go to these Panther meetings back in the day in Oakland and San Francisco, learning directly under one of the first women in the Black Panther Party. Her name was Kilu Nyasha. I mean, she also rests in peace. And she was disabled. She was in a wheelchair. And she actually got injured in martial arts. That's how she ended up in the wheelchair. It was really tragic. But my point is,
wait, drop her name again, just in case people didn't pick that up.
Kiilu, Kiilu, and it's not Nyasha, Nysha, Nyasha. Yeah.
Yeah, because you dropping gems. Like you just go through like, yeah, I was with Eazy-E, then I was at the Panther Party. Yeah. Like, because I know you say you know Tupac, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat condensed. I told Tim, like,
yeah, that Bay Area, right? So that's you're in the Bay. That's not the Bay.
That's the Bay.
That's the Bay. That's really that's yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then Money B's dad is like, hey, do you want to write about hip hop for the Commemorator? And I'm like, sure. So I'm a horrible writer, but I'm just trying to write. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is like, had Mr. King and Eazy not given me that shot, all this other stuff that I'm talking to you about, it just would never have happened. You know? So I'm really grateful. And it's crazy and sad kind of because I really tried to track down Mr. King in the last few years, and I was unable to get to him before he passed away. So I don't even think, you know what I'm saying, that he knows that I did everything that I did because of him, because I changed my name. You know what I'm saying? Like I changed my name to an African name. So he wouldn't have known whatever happened to me.
Oh, really? I didn't know you changed your name. That's interesting. It's
I converted to Islam, changed my name. So, excuse me. So once that happened, like nobody, you know what I mean? Like he wouldn't have known. So I tried to track him down through Facebook, but he wasn't really on there that much. And then like people were like, oh, he's on Facebook. And then ironically, a kid that I mentored went to college with his grandson. And he was like, yo, it turns out Mr. King's grandson goes to my college at Pitzer. This was a kid that I mentored. Shout out to Antonio, going to be a dentist in Cuba right now.
Oh,
and so, yeah, he's a gangster. And he came from like serious, like not easy life. But I still try to track Dr. King down. I mean, I keep calling him Dr. King because he was all that to me. But anyway, he passed away. So, you know what I mean? I'm just like, but I dedicated Bobby Bruce in the Bronx to him. If you look like early in, you'll see a picture of him. You'll see a picture of Mr. King in the book.
Oh, I have the book. We didn't talk about the book. We
have not talked about the book yet. No.
I don't know.
I'm still curious as to how this led to the Hip Hop Chess Federation. Like,
okay,
you
so
see the hip
we
hop.
were still trying to get to that.
So fast forward, the chess is in. Now the hip hop is in. Right?
Yes.
Then I started learning jiu-jitsu in late '97 at Ralph Gracie's in Mountain View. Early days, Camarillo brothers, you know, them BJ Penn, and you know what I'm saying? I remember BJ Penn's first day, or one of his first days, like visiting Ralph Gracie. And
they do the judo jiu-jitsu hybrid, right? The Camarillo brothers, Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu.
Guerrilla Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, I remember the ads on Sherdog when I would used to listen to the Jeff Sherwood show back when it was on Sherdog, when you didn't have podcasts on your phone and shit. Like you'd have to go on your computer. I'd be in college listening to it, and like going on YouTube and watching It Wasn't Risen at the time, that show in Japan right after Pride, but the one after that Eddie Alvarez got heel hooked by Shinya Aoki, like that one. Dream.
I can see Dream. I got one of them VHSs.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just nerded out. I'm a martial art.
Who's Gracie?
Hold on. Let me see his speaker. Yeah, let's look at it good. Changing this view. Who is great? These I feel like should be more valuable than Pokemon cards.
They are probably.
Look at that. Oh, wow. The manga though, the manga one, not the bootleg, homie.
Oh, the real deal joint. It's not right. There we go. We got it on the camera.
All right, but this right here though, look at that. Pride, what is that? 2005?
Yeah, wow, Pride 29.
Where do you buy these? Like,
so
did you get these on like? You're not in New York. Did you buy these on like a corner of a street? Like,
no. So this is the beauty of the Bay, right? Like, because of the intercultural like weavings, right, of the Bay, like we have some of the best martial artists of every style, right? With the Chinese migration to San Francisco, Japanese migration, right? But the Japanese settled in San Francisco, but they also settled in San Jose, right? Which is not far from Mountain View, which is where Ralph Gracie set up initially, right? So when I bought my first gi, I bought it from Japantown. So I went to Japantown. I got a big old, unnecessarily big ass judo gi with these bell bottom sleeves. It was bonkers, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going to get in, you know what I'm saying? And so there were different Japanese stores. So there was this one Japanese market off Saratoga. And like one day I was kind of walking around and they have all the little crazy, like, you know, TV shows and DVDs and VHSs and a little isolated porn section. And then right next to the porn section,
knives,
fights. And I was like, yo, like, how much is this? They were like, $5. I was like,
you get your UFC and your Pride right next to the porn.
That is a steal.
These were straight recorded off television, so you get all the ads. You know what I mean?
So dope. That is so. I love that stuff. I watch pro wrestling. I'm a pro wrestler now, and my biggest nerd thing is when I watch on YouTube, I watch the commercials because it's like it's a totally different experience watching
it because it brings you into that time 100%. You know what I mean? And so I started like popping those. I mean, like that store was in walking distance from my house, that market. So like I would just try to pay attention online to see when a fight was happening, and then they would record it and then start dubbing it. I'd go slide it, and now I'm watching Nogueira. Now I'm watching, you know what I'm saying? Like all kind of crazy stuff.
For real.
So that was cool. So in 2006, I had been the whole time, like as a hip hop writer, I wrote for The Source, Vibe, I wrote for Rap Pages, I wrote for a lot of different hip hop sites that have come and gone, a lot of magazines that don't exist anymore. And through the course of it, I would always ask people if they actually played chess after an interview, just to be curious. Like, hey, do you ever play chess? And they'd be like, yep. And then I started realizing all these fools was playing. So I was like, interesting. So then I had written a book called Lyrical Swords, Volume 1, Hip Hop and Politics in the Mix, small independent thing. I don't even know if you can actually buy that anymore. But I was invited to speak at a juvenile hall. And while I was speaking at the juvenile hall, that weekend I had bought my son a chess set because he was like 4 years old at the time, 5 years old. He was in judo. And so I just started teaching him chess, and I went to go, they were like, oh, we want you to do a career day on journalism because you write. And I was like, sure. So I came in, I was bombing. I'm a really good public speaker, but on that day, those kids didn't give half a damn about me, and they didn't give half a damn about journalism. They were just happy to be out they sell. You feel me? So they were just like, I'm talking, they be hella interrupting. Yes, you, sir. You ever met Snoop Dogg? Well, I interviewed him on the phone once, but okay. Yes. You ever met Too Short? I did meet Too Short. You know what I'm saying? It was this whole thing. No one cared about what the hell I was talking about. And I realized it was not working. So I was like, oh, I got my chess set in the back. I was like, hey, y'all, quick question. How many of y'all know how to play chess in this room? And 85% of the hands went, Joop. I was like, you are lying to me. I said, okay. All right. Now, if you're not good, take your hand down. Only people who know how to get down on this board, keep your hand up. And a bunch of hands went down, but a lot stayed up. So I was like, all right, we're having a tournament. Whoever wins, I'll give you a copy of the book. That's how this is going to go. Put the thing down. They start playing. These two black dudes are playing. There's a white dude sitting. This dude's getting ready to move his knight. And the white dude's like, don't move your knight. And dude's like, shut up, white boy. Anybody ask you about no chess move? Nigga, boom, moves, loses his queen. Everybody's like, oh, he lost his queen. And now white dude has new status in the group, right? Because now they're like, white dude knows how to play. When I first asked who was the best, the guy who said he was the best weighed almost 300 pounds. He was always in the back. He was all the way in the back. And he was like, who's the best? He's like, I'm the best, sir. And he was like, shut up, fat boy. This ain't no sound sheet contest, nigga. Right? I starts laughing. I'm like, yo. And I'm trying to preserve my laugh. Like, this is not cool. He's body shaming. Listen, let him be. But the man said he was the best. Let's see what happens. And through life, he beat everybody. Okay? So I handed out books. We chilling. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. And then while they're having fun and talking, I'm like, how do all of these kids know how to play chess, but they make horrible decisions in their real life? Like they were not bad chess players. And so I gathered my stuff. It was a San Francisco juvie up in Portola area. I'm coming out, and I remember where I was on the stairs. I was on a stair. There was a blinking like fluorescent light, and it hit me. I was like, what could make them learn chess and life better? And it was like, boom, all the hip hop lyrics, all the rappers I ever spoke to, do you play chess? Yes. It like downloaded. And I said out loud, I was like, hip hop chess. And then I walked down and I went home and I started putting the org together, like immediately.
Wow, that's dope. But like, so how did you end up incorporating jiu-jitsu into it? Like, was there a time where it was just like the hip hop and chess then?
So by this time, I've been training at House. I had trained at House from probably like, I started tailing in 97, I think. I probably like was there for like 2 years. And then I was working in the Valley and I started doing tech stuff. So I stopped kind of training. And then Charles ended up opening up a school near my parents' house where I was always taking my kids. So I was like, I'm gonna start training at Charles because that's easier for me to get to. It's a shorter commute because I drop off my kids and I can just go train. Oh, hold on, we gotta pause this real quick.
You have a real house phone?
You hear that?
A house phone? Is it a rotary phone?
No. It's just the under vibe. You know what I'm saying? It's like the under vibe.
Huh.
Hold on. And it's getting picked up. All right. So
like an answer?
yeah, old school. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's hold on. I got all kind of technology mishaps popping right now. What story was I in the middle of telling?
They want you. Is that easy?
Hey man, that's easy on the phone.
Pretend pick up your phone.
Now we got
easy.
now we're going double Patreon.
You're gonna have to pay $30 to talk to easy
right now. We trying to run these Facebook ads. Click.
Man. What story was I telling?
You were putting. You had that light bulb went off. Yeah.
Right. So I went to Charles's. Right. I went to Charles's, but while I was at house, I couldn't remember moves. And then he would be like, "You go here, then you go here, then you go here, and then there's the arm bar." And I was like, I don't understand this at all. And so I had to start thinking in chess ways. Right. I was like, oh, when Half goes here and the guy goes there, that's like chess. Then you anticipate they're going there, and then you go over here and you take the arm. Boom. So that's how I started trying to remember the moves, was to think of it like chess. Fast forward to 2006, I got my blue belt from Charles.
Shout out to the blue belts, because you did major things as a blue and a purple belt.
Yeah, I tried. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm writing.
You did. There's writing, you actually published. There's like legit proof. You can cite sources.
It was crazy at the time, though. You know, I think you're just trying to live, so it's not registering. You know what I mean?
Think
Very true. Blue belt is the hardest belt, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's in anything. Anytime like you're just trying to live, but it's not registering, is valid for any stage of your life. You know? And I think there's two golden gems that I've gotten from like you and Dwan. Like Dwan was a previous guest, and Dwan is how I know you actually. Yeah. And like Dwan always says, there ain't no blueprint for this shit. And then something else, I'll just drop that gem now, that I don't think you even heard it. Like you say that in reference, because like you edit some of Dwan's work, it's just to make it hater proof. And that's something I've even tried to like express to Tim, like how to make it hater proof. That's followed me through my professional career and helped me level up. I appreciate that, you know.
So look, so I remember this. I go into Charles's, right? And he knows I left house. Him and Half at the time, I'm not sure what their relationship was like, but I'm naive. Back to the naive kid, right? Like, I'm not really thinking. I'm like, that's his brother. It's not a problem, right? So I go in the first day, white belt, and he has me roll. He's like, oh, roll with one of my blue belts. I'm like, word. Now, this is old school Half. We go hard. Like, we go hard. This is the way.
Brazilian way.
Right? So bam, we just get into it. We going. We at it. I'm giving him drama. And he's watching. And right as I tap, like he caught me in like an Americana. Boom, like it went bing. Like it was like the slap, my tap, and the bell went off at the same moment. And he sits up and the guy looks at me and he sits on the mat. And Charles looks at him and he's like, you think of his level. And me and the guy are both like, you know what I mean? It was a match. And he goes, this guy right here, he's definitely blue. I was like, word. Dude, Charles did not give me a blue belt for 2 years. 2 years, bud.
Damn.
2 years. Do you hear me? And what it did was,
no.
Yo, it made me a maniac. It was actually good because he made me so predatory. When I came in there with my frazzled ass white belt, if you had any color, it was on. It was on. Purple belts on, right? On. And so like that made me, I think, a killer more than maybe having like, if he just would have gave me the blue, like, you know, a month or two later or whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. But in some ways, I obviously felt like it wasn't necessary. But it was during that time that me and my boy Leo Liberon, who was a graffiti writer by the name of Blast One, shout out to Blast One, we really came together, decided we're going to do hip hop and chess. And because jiu-jitsu was so much a part of my life at that point, I was like, we need to make jiu-jitsu, a part of it. And so, this phrase that I came up with was, jiu-jitsu, chess is jiu-jitsu for the mind and jiu-jitsu is chess for the body. Like, that's like the phrase that we just kept pushing, you know what I'm saying? And it was never like a slogan, but it was something we always just kept saying, you know what I mean? And so at first, nobody thought that what we were talking about made any sense. And I understand it's a little too much, right? If you think about 2006, jiu-jitsu is a little too new, right, to America. Hip hop is still vastly understood, and you have to get into the nuts and bolts of it to see the chess elements in it, right? And chess is just a game for nerds that no one's caring about in America. You know what I'm saying? I had known
2006. We started this podcast off on the year I was born, and now we're at the year that I graduated high school. Just to put this in context. But I think also in the context of the importance of like everything that you have to say, like, because like, again, so many people of color especially are just frustrated and aggravated and like don't feel like they have a space in this community. So it's just like going back to think of like, the rich history that we actually have, which is really dope. Because again, we're at 2006. Like, this is about the time that I was getting into MMA and I didn't even really know what jiu-jitsu and gi was. This is where we're at in my life. Like, this is so interesting.
So me and Blast, we started HHCF. The very first event was held at a library in San Jose, the MLK library in San Jose, and we got kicked out for being hella noisy. We had this room, and we had a DJ in a library. I wasn't thinking. So he's like, like Danny Prokopos was there. Did Paul Schreiner come? I think Paul Schreiner was there. I had different hip hop people from like Hieroglyphics and other crews like show up, and we were just playing. DJ Kubert was there. I had a chess grandmaster, Vinay Bhatt. He came through, was on the clock playing with Q. Like, it was nuts. We got kicked out, but it was funny. Like, I was like, all right, y'all, we got to get it out. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, hey, in this one room. But that's
like,
when
you need that street cred. Like, that gives chess that street cred, it's DJ
Kevy Kev, he's a really sick player. He's known in hip hop. DJ Kevy Kev is known as like someone who can play hard, you know what I'm saying? So Kevy Kev came out, Paul Schreiner came out, pretty sure I think Luke Stewart was there, one of House first savages in the black belt. Yeah, it might have been Luke instead of Paul. But anyway, it was just really crazy. And then it was around that time, because I knew Swan Tech from way back. I was in LA down there. And then Tech's like, you need to really meet RZA. I had known Jizza before because of hip hop writing. So I knew Jizza before Wu-Tang, when he was on Cold Chillin', when he was just like the genius. And we chopped all the time, just anyway. When I say all the time, I mean like twice a year, whatever, we would chop, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It was pre-Wu-Tang, then Wu-Tang drops. RZA calls me. I talked to him for like 5 minutes, and he's like, oh, I'm down. Like, he's like, I'm down. So then we did our first event in 2000. Our first event with celebrities was him and Josh Waitskin, who, is probably the first, I think he's the first American black belt under Marcelo Garcia. And he was working on a book called The Art of Learning, which everyone should buy. The Art of Learning by Josh Waitskin.
Like, when I say y'all needed to go get a pen and a piece of paper.
And he had just dropped it. He had just made it. He was like, yo, because I had sent him messages like, yo, I want to interview for my book. I was trying to interview him for the book at the time. My second book was called Lyrical Swords Volume 2, West Side Rebellion. I had Jizza, RZA, and I have Maurice Ashley, the first black grandmaster, but I was trying to get him for it, but he didn't call me because he was off. Josh travels a lot. He's a real INFJ. He's not seen, he just moves around.
Real INFJ. And why do you keep saying you publishing books like they're writing articles? Like, oh yeah, and then I got this book and that book and this book.
And those books look thick.
Because it's so long ago, it's weird. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't. So he calls me I was so mad. Right after West Side Rebellion is ready, I get a phone call. He's like, hey, this is Josh, man. I'm sorry. I was traveling. He was like, can I still be in your book? I was like, tragedy? No, but I'm glad you called me though. And I was like, I was writing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, oh, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, I just wrote a book about Tai Chi and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and chess. I was like, shut up. He sends me a galley copy. We become cool. So the first thing we did was we had RZA, Jizza, the rapper Paris from The Devil Made Me Do It, not Paris Hilton. A lot of other rappers came together with hip hop dudes, and we did an event, and we started a nonprofit, and that nonprofit ran for a long time. We just shut it down. I just shut down Hip Hop Chess Federation, but I have a new org dropping soon.
Yes.
So please follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Bishop Chronicles. Please subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to the Bishop Chronicles podcast. It's about Stoic philosophy and the art of resilience, right?
Well, that's awesome. That's great advice. Nico, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at no_Nico. That's no_new_Nico. I am not on Twitter, or not Twitter. I'm not on TikTok or Twitter. But make sure to drop by favelajiujitsu.com for your BJJ Goons merch.
You can find me at timspriggsbjj.com, where I teach private lessons, both in person and virtually. I make game plans and I critique matches. Or you can check me out at timspriggsbjj on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again, Adisa Banjoko from Hip Hop Chess Federation, and soon to be a new promotion. We don't know the name of it yet, but we will definitely keep everyone updated. And
y'all will be some of the first to know, I promise.
That. Thanks again for coming on the show, Adisa. This has been the BJJ Goons podcast. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Peace.